Most stories about a child turning on their family come from distant legends or horror films. But what happened inside a quiet home in Rankin County, Mississippi, wasn't fiction. It wasn't exaggerated. And it wasn't something anyone around her could have predicted. Because on an ordinary afternoon in March 2024, a 14-year-old girl, who classmates described as sweet, smart, and the last person you'd worry about, calmly walked into her mother's bedroom and changed her entire family forever. Investigators say the truth of what happened is written across the home's surveillance cameras. Hundreds of small moments that, when viewed together, reveal a level of planning no one ever imagined from a young teenager.
What's the location of your emergency?
Hey, where's your wife at, bud? Where's your wife at?
She's dead on the floor in that room. She shot me in the neck. She ran into the backyard. I tried to follow her. She jumped the fence and ran.
Yet even with all the evidence, one question refused to go away. Why? What snapped inside this girl? And how did nobody see the collapse happening right in front of them? This is the story of a life that appeared perfect, until the mask fell. To everyone around her, Carly Gregg was the kind of kid teachers bragged about. Smart, well-spoken, active in school, and surrounded by tons of friends, she had a reputation for kindness. Her mother, Ashley Smiley, worked long hours to give Carly a stable life, and her stepfather, Heath, treated her like his own child. There was no chaos in the home, no history of violence, and nothing that screamed danger. But beneath the polished image was a world Carly kept carefully hidden. Her parents didn't know about the second phone she used to talk to boys and hide messages. They didn't know about the vaping she experimented with, or the weed she tried with friends. They didn't know about the crying spells she hid behind a locked bedroom door, or the nights she wrote in a journal about feeling empty, confused, and wrong inside. To her friends, she was funny and outgoing. To her family, she was loving and quiet. But privately, she was drifting into a space she didn't know how to describe. Something darker, heavier, and more distant from the girl she used to be. Teachers later said that if you looked closely, you might have seen something in her eyes, something tired, something overwhelmed. But nobody expected what came next. Because no matter how much pain she was hiding, nobody imagined she was capable of something so catastrophic. Not yet.
What's the location of your emergency?
I'm at 214. I don't know what happened. My wife is dead.
What's
Someone tried to shoot me.
Your daughter tried to shoot you?
Yeah. She ran out of there shooting at me.
What's her name?
Carly Gregg.
Carly Gregg? Does she still have a gun on her?
I took it from her. She ran.
You took it from her and she ran?
Yes, sir. She was screaming something at me I couldn't understand. I locked the door. She's outside. I don't know what's going on.
How old is she?
14. Oh my God, she's killing her mom.
She what?
She's killed her mom.
She killed her mom? Where's the mom
Her
at?
mom, and when I came in, she tried to kill me.
Where's the mom at? Sir. Sir. Sir.
God, why?
Okay, sir. Where's your wife?
She's dead on the floor of my stepdaughter's room.
March 19th, 2024 began like any other day. Carly went to school, joked with friends, and walked the hallways like everything was normal. Teachers didn't report any unusual behavior. Friends didn't notice any strange mood swings. To the outside world, Carly behaved like she always did. But her mother had made a discovery earlier that morning that changed the tone of the entire day. Ashley had found out Carly had been vaping and experimenting with weed. It wasn't the first time she'd caught her, but this time she was tired of the secrets. She'd already found the burner phone. She'd already dealt with weeks of emotional distance, and now she was confronting her daughter again. Friends later said Carly seemed tense that day, quiet, distracted, and irritated. But none of them imagined that something so small could trigger such a catastrophic decision. Inside the house that afternoon, the home's indoor cameras captured Carly walking room to room, pacing, sitting silently, then pacing again. Sometimes she'd pause in front of the pantry, or in the hallway, or near her mother's bedroom door, as if she was trying to decide something huge. Investigators didn't realize it yet, but every step she took that afternoon was part of a countdown, one that cameras would later reveal in chilling detail. And soon, they'd uncover the moment this quiet teenager made her choice.
Sheriff's office! Sheriff's office!
Kitchen cabinet where her stepfather kept a firearm hidden. She reaches up, grabs it, and holds it behind her back. Not with fear, not with hesitation, but with a calmness that would later haunt investigators. She walks down the hallway and stops just outside her mother's bedroom door. The camera angle is partial, but enough to show her standing there for nearly a full minute, breathing slowly, as if rehearsing. Then she steps inside. The sound came first, 3 quick shots. Her mother never had a chance to react. She didn't scream. She didn't call out. She simply collapsed before she knew her daughter was armed. What Carly did next stunned everyone. She took her mother's phone. She opened it, and she began texting her stepfather while pretending to be Ashley, telling him to come home early. But that wasn't all.
Manipulative and thinking to use the words, honey, when are you going to be home, to set up her stepfather, Heath, to arrive at the home, where apparently she planned to kill him as well.
Instead of calling 911 or running away, Carly called her friends, several of them. She told one she had done something bad. She told another she needed help. She even video called a classmate, holding the phone at an angle that made them feel like something was wrong, but not enough for them to realize the truth. When some begged her to call for help, she refused. Minutes later, 2 friends arrived at the house. Carly opened the door, expressionless, and showed them the scene. One ran away immediately. The other stayed, frozen in shock. And while they panicked, Carly whispered something that investigators still talk about. It's not over. Because she was planning for Heath next.
She's got short, brownish hair.
So, jeans, a gray t-shirt, short brown hair.
She ran into the backyard. I tried to follow her. She jumped the fence and ran. She shot me in the neck. It's okay.
Does she still have the gun?
It's on the kitchen counter. I think.
When her stepfather pulled into the driveway, he noticed the house was strangely quiet. No movement, no sound. The lights were dim. He stepped out of his truck, opened the door, and walked inside. Carly stayed hidden behind a curtain near the entrance, still holding the gun. The moment he stepped inside, she fired. The bullet hit him, knocking him backward. Bleeding heavily, he fought to get back on his feet. Carly moved toward him for another shot, but he grabbed her arm, slammed her against the wall, and wrestled the gun away from her. She ran. Her friend ran with her. They sprinted out of the house and down the street, leaving Heath to crawl toward the phone and call for help. The footage, the blood trail, the terrified friend, the texts, it all pointed to one chilling conclusion. This wasn't an act of impulse. It was an ambush. And when investigators dug deeper into Carly's life, they discovered a world of hidden turmoil, one that shattered the story everyone thought. Once Carly was taken into custody, everything began to surface at once. Friends told police that Carly had been different for months. She'd talk about feeling empty, like she was watching her life instead of living it. She'd write disturbing diary entries with phrases like, "I don't feel real. The voices get louder when it's quiet. It's okay to be dark. It's okay to be evil." She described seeing shadows that weren't there. She wrote about feeling like something inside her was breaking apart. She hinted that she didn't fear consequences anymore. Months before the attack, her parents had taken her to multiple therapists after discovering self-harm wounds on her arms. She was put on medication. She saw a psychiatrist. She talked about overstimulation, panic, emotional numbness, and paranoia. One psychiatrist later testified that Carly was spiraling into a mental break, something terrifying and uncontrollable. But another psychiatrist disagreed entirely, calling her behavior deliberate, organized, and manipulative. Two experts, two completely different interpretations. And Carly herself remained calm through all of it, never offering a clear explanation, never showing the full range of emotion people expected from a child who had destroyed her own family. This contradiction would become the centerpiece of one of the most intense trials Mississippi had seen in years.
All right, Miss Gregg, did you receive that recommendation of 40 years?
Yes, sir.
And it was your choice and your choice alone to reject that recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor.
She proceeds to trial. Count one, what's the potential sentence?
Life.
If the jury fails to affix the sentence at life, what's the sentencing range?
20 years to 40 years.
All right, and count two, what's the potential sentence?
Between 20 years and life.
When the trial began, prosecutors went straight for the heart of the case. They argued that Carly planned everything. She hid the gun. She texted her stepfather to lure him home. She video called friends instead of calling for help. She attempted to clean evidence. She admitted she knew the difference between right and wrong. They painted her as cold, calculating, and fully aware of every step she took.
Ladies and gentlemen, you'll hear testimony throughout the next few days during this case. You'll hear about some secret life that Carly lived. You'll hear that she was secretly cutting on her thigh using a knife. You'll hear that she secretly had burner phones her mom and stepdad didn't know about that she was using. You'll hear that she had secret weed vape pens and that she was secretly smoking those vape pens and getting high before going to school at times. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not why we're here though.
Almost immediately upon Carly coming inside the house, that she walks straight to her parents' bedroom, that she goes straight to her mom's side of the bed and removes a .357 Magnum from under the mattress. She peeks her head around the kitchen to make sure that her mom hasn't come out of her bedroom. She walked with that .357 Magnum behind her back, walked into her own bedroom, fired 3 shots into her mother.
But the defense attacked the case from the opposite angle. They brought in childhood history, emotional breakdowns, diary entries, and mental health evaluations. They said Carly had been losing her grip on reality. They said she heard things, saw things, felt disconnected from her own body. They described the attack as a catastrophic psychological collapse, not a strategic plot. They even suggested her medication may have worsened her symptoms. Carly herself refused plea deals. She was convinced that if a jury heard her story, they'd understand she wasn't acting out of cruelty, but out of confusion and emotional chaos. But as both sides clashed, one thing became clear. The truth was buried somewhere between logic and madness, and nobody could fully pull it apart.
This is not a whodunit case. We know who took action on March 19th to bring about the death of Ashley Smiley and the injuries to Heath Smiley. Why did this exceptional child with no history of violence, who was loved by her friends, her teachers, her parents, who had a good home life, who loved her mother, why did she shoot her mom? Why did she shoot at her stepfather?
Carly's close friends who saw her at school every day were not aware that Carly was suffering from a mental illness. It's hard to look at a person and know that they have a mental illness. That's why it's often referred to as the invisible disease. The events on March 19th were not intentional.
Where's your wife at?
Where's in that
room? In all the time that you've known Carly, would you describe her as callous?
No.
Would you describe her as calculating?
No, except with math.
Would you describe her as diabolical?
No.
How would you describe Carly?
She's just a sweet little girl ever since I've known her. Like I said, my initial thoughts were she was terrified and scared out of her mind. I still to this day don't think she ever even recognized me. Something was wrong there. I don't know what, but something was off.
You don't have any personal knowledge about any medication that was prescribed?
She had been taking one a day. Ashley would have her go get it and make sure she was taking the whatever it was, one a day or whatever. She kept an eye on that.
Was there a period of time in which Carly's mental health issues began to be more significant?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
So beginning from around the age of 9 or so, what Carly reported was that she began to feel depressed, that the auditory hallucinations, meaning that she was hearing voices, that those continued, that these experiences of feeling like the world wasn't real continued. And as I understand it, she'd been cutting herself for about 2 years, so starting around the age of 12, that she would, on a fairly regular basis, make superficial cuts on her thighs as a way to help manage her anxiety and distress. So writing on March 12th, Tuesday, she writes, "I think I had a psychotic break earlier. The whole ordeal was quite silly. I actually spoke with one of the voices in my head, that they were becoming more urgent, more prominent, and she was beginning to worry that they were taking over for her." Now, she told me that the only thing the voices said to her were things that were kind of elitist, like you're better than those people. Like that's the only thing she told me. I think Carly has a much more severe psychiatric illness than anybody realized.
Do you believe that Carly was able to understand the nature of her conduct and appreciate the difference between right and wrong at the time this incident occurred on March 19th?
I don't think so.
I highly doubt and do not believe that Carly has bipolar disorder. There's a lot of things in these journals, and some of them are concerning. She says, what do I believe? And she writes these tenets down, and one of them says, it's okay to be evil. There is no God. Heaven and hell are fake. Love is important. You don't need family. Writing your own destiny with a check mark beside it. So my opinion is that Carly does not meet Mississippi's standard for insanity at the time of the offense, and that she knew the nature, quality, and wrongfulness of her actions during that day.
After examining every video, every text message, every diary entry, and every hour of testimony, the jury delivered a decision that drew gasps from the courtroom.
Verdict of the jury is count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. Count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of attempted murder as charged in the indictment. Count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant, Carly Madison Gregg, guilty of tampering with evidence as charged in the indictment. Please be seated, Ms. Gregg.
She heard the sentence. She didn't argue. She didn't fall apart. She just stared straight ahead, expressionless, exactly the way she looked on camera the day everything happened. Even now, people who followed the case still argue about it. Was Carly a cold planner who executed an attack out of anger and resentment? Or was she a deeply unstable child whose internal world collapsed without anyone realizing how bad it had become? The truth may never be entirely clear. What is certain is that a mother lost her life, a stepfather lost the family he loved, and a teenager whose future once looked bright now faces decades behind bars. The most frightening part isn't the crime itself, it's how invisible the breaking point was. How someone so young, so outwardly normal, could be falling apart silently until everything snapped in a single afternoon. And it leaves us with a final question that nobody can answer. How many other people are hiding storms this dangerous behind a smile? We'd love to hear your thoughts on this story. Share your take in the comments below. If you enjoyed diving into this case, consider showing some love with a like and subscribing to stay updated with more stories like this.